questions?
Looking at the film, did it kind of confirm what you thought, or did anything new kind of come to mind?
That we were close. Like, it wasn't exactly what I thought. You know, I was a little more disappointed right after the game, and then seeing the film, it brought a little more life into me, just because if we can execute, and there's a lot of things that we can actually fix. So that's the bright spot that I saw in that. And talking to the team, I can tell that they were ready to hear those things, and they saw the same thing too after talking to them today. So,
what were some things maybe you specifically saw when you were looking at the defense, the D-line, the linebackers, and the secondary?
Just a couple things, just kind of put them in a different situation. A little bit of that. Tackling was an issue. And that was a good offense that we played against. You know, that O-line did a great job. That quarterback is going to be he's special, and they were able to run the ball. So they were able to keep us off balance, and, you know, it was a tough first game.
How do you go about fixing the tackling?
Just continue to stay the course like we did last season. You know, we did exactly like we did last season, this training camp. So nobody had anything to say at that time for that. And, you know, we had a few early draft picks. So I think that we're on pace for that. But, you know, just putting a little bit more emphasis on it and continuously just telling them guys about it. But I don't know if there's a certain thing that we can do, but I just feel that as long as we keep emphasizing it, they should understand. It's just getting back to the fundamentals.
You just brought up the NFL draft picks you had on last year's team. You know, having a bunch of new guys here, how quick are you going to make decisions on, you know, maybe this guy's starting against UNLV that wasn't starting, you know, this last week?
It depends on how the week goes. You know, we still want to see how guys practice and come out and how they approach it. But no decisions are going to be made just because of how this game went. The outcome could have went a different way if we executed on both sides of the ball.
And piggyback. Oh, good.
It looked like he had to extend a lot of plays. Does that concern you a little bit? Do you think that kind of puts him in a tough spot at certain times? And how do you address that going forward?
Just the only thing I was worried about is him just sliding. That was it. You know, he's a very athletic kid. He's played multiple sports. He's like a high-level athlete, so, you know, he can extend the play and go. But you guys saw quarterback play off schedule the whole time against us, so, you know, it's not really a concerning thing. That I think the O-line did a good job in protecting him, and we just got in a situation where we had to be one-dimensional just because of the score. So, you know, they were able to pin their ears back, and they knew what was coming.
You said that talking to the guys makes you feel ready, that they're ready to move on from last week and look into this Saturday. What exactly have you heard in the locker room that's made
Just
you feel
that they understanding that I'm sorry about cutting you off, that they didn't understand just the details. You know, we got to get back to the fundamentals and the details. There's little things that we could have did better at every position. And when you have thing at every position, D-line, O-line, running backs, linebackers, tight ends, safeties, corners, receivers, it turns into, if each position has a little thing, it turns into a huge amount of stuff that we have to improve on. So I think that they looked themselves in the mirror and understood that everybody has their hand in this, and we got to get better.
Are there any guys that have kind of unexpectedly stepped up in that leadership role?
There was a few. I'm not going to just call them out just because, but I just like the way that the whole team, their energy was. But most definitely there was a few.
Injury-wise, did you come out okay? Like Kwasi was limping around maybe a little bit second half? Or?
Yeah, he got rolled up on a little bit, but other than that, he was fine. He came back and still played in the game.
Nico DeValier, will he be back this week? Do we know?
We're still trying to figure that out.
Going back to what you said earlier about, you know, not wanting to make a decision based off one game, especially the quality of the opponent that you faced. What goes into when you guys evaluate as a staff, when to make a necessary change and when to, you know, let it play out and see how things unfold for a couple of games?
If somebody's out there completely busting, then you got to fix something. But if it's a shifty quarterback and you're missing tackles on a shifty guy, then that's not really, you know, that's a hard thing to do, to tackle somebody with the skill set that quarterback had. He did exactly what he was doing at New Mexico here at Utah with a really good O-line. So I'm not going to just turn this whole thing over like we're done. And, you know, the biggest growth that you're going to see in a team is from week 1 to week 2. So I'm just excited that we're going to be able to get out there and actually show who we really are.
When you went back and looked at film, what did you see from the run game? What did you like? What did you not like?
We just weren't able to establish it and stay with it. You know, the score kind of got to a point where we couldn't hang our hat on the run game anymore. But, you know, Anthony Woods came in there and had some runs. Berger did the same. Jet also too. So if we can just continue to give him more touches, you know, we can be successful in the run game.
You talked about how, you know, this team is not just Nico, but obviously there are a lot of eyes on him, especially in his first game. How have you seen him respond to both his performance and the team's?
He's just a gamer. Nico's somebody that as soon as he looked at me, he was like, it's on me, and I have to let him know, like, it's not 1 on 11, you know, and that's just the kind of competitor he is. He's going to take full responsibility, full blame for everything, but we got to let him know that we do have, you know, you have people here that are playing with you. It's the ultimate team game, and, you know, everybody has to do their part to get the victory.
What does a game like that tell you about, I guess, where you guys need to be against bigger physical opponents, especially once, you know, you do enter Big Ten play and those kind of opponents become a little bit more common?
I would rather this happen now than in 3 weeks, you know? So it was good that we had the kind of opponent that we had. We knew that that man's been there for 20 years. So that team takes on his personality, and they understand what it means to be a team. But we're not going to make any excuses. It was an unfortunate night for us, you know. It was tough to be a Bruin that night, and we're going to move past that and really show you what this team can do moving forward.
UNLV's done a good job moving the ball early in their first 2 games. Allowing 20 first downs via a rush. What is that message to the defense to try and cut that back, especially against a team that's already had some success on the ground?
Same thing. Just make sure that you guys are doing the fundamentals, you know, doing the little things. So if we can do that could cut the score in half. But I'm just excited for this next opportunity, you know. I'm glad that I'm not going to say I'm glad, but I'm in a better place than I was Saturday night. And the fact that the team was too this morning when I met with them, it resonated a little bit better that, you know, we have some resilient guys and they're ready to go.
Roderick had that pass breakup on that drive you guys eventually stopped Utah on. What would you see out of Roderick? Especially, I remember back early in fall camp, you mentioned, you know, he was the guy still knocking off the rust. And for him to, you know, already be thrown into a starting role like that, what would that say about the way he was able to get himself ready for the season and, you know, perform the other night?
The rest was more of just, you know, he's a great athlete. He ran track all the way to June, I would say. You know what I mean? So it's more of rust of just being on the field and playing ball, you know, but he got all of that out, and you were able to see him make plays downfield. So Roger's he's a special type of talent, and I'm just glad that he picked us and he's on our side.
I can imagine you talked to Coach Malloy. What was his take on the defense?
Saturday night was completely different than Sunday morning. So it was just good that, you know, we just feel like it's fixable. There's things out there that's fixable. There wasn't anything like we can't fix. So, you know, that's what keeps you positive, is that it's fixable. You know, we can get out there and fix it, and we just got to hold these guys accountable and make sure that everybody's doing exactly what we want.
What was the thing going for the field goal, 4th and 4 in the third quarter?
Say it again.
Going for the field goal, 4th and 4 in the third quarter? What was kind of the thinking there?
It was 4th and 4, you know. Okay. I was going for it when it was a little shorter in those situations, right? But
yeah,
in that one, we had to get some points. So let's try to get something started by getting a field goal.
You said that before last year's opener, you kind of had nerves. You were a little scared, but this year you were more, you know, calm. Do you still feel that same sort of composure, or any more of those nerves set in for this week?
Oh yeah, I'm good to go. It's not. I told y'all that was the first time, only time, and it was only probably the Hawaii game. It wasn't a season thing. That was the only time that I was in a situation that I had never felt before on the football field. But after that, it was good to go.
Yeah, last year you went to Hawaii, then you went to LSU. This year, just hop, skip, and a jump to Vegas. How much easier does that help in the game planning?
Most definitely travel helps. You know, we don't have to leave on Thursday or anything like that. Those are 2 very long trips that we had last year, and we have 2 very short ones right now. We just played at the Rose Bowl, and we're going to play in Allegiance or Alliance.
You had mentioned Utah's talent as, you know, whether it was the edge rush not being able to get there, or your own run game not being able to succeed in the way you wanted. How would you assess this offensive line group when you mentioned so many different combos that you dealt with in fall camp of putting guys together?
I don't think it was a O-line issue. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the O-line did this and put us in this situation. So, you know, my players played well as long as they could, and it wasn't an issue of a one-sided thing on offense, like the O-line's not protecting him. He's a quarterback that can extend plays and run around. In 2016, I was at Texas Tech, playing with a guy that could dominate off schedule. So it's not a. We just played against a really good O-line, right? Did he stay in the pocket, or was he running around? Which one was it?
No, he was running around.
Okay, that's, you see what I'm saying though. So it's when you have an athletic guy and he can extend plays, and he's going to do that. One thing I would like for him to do is slide. Other than that, I think he can use his athleticism to play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.